The Pantheon in Rome has stood for nearly 2,000 years. Its massive concrete dome remains the world's largest unreinforced concrete structure. Meanwhile, modern concrete bridges crumble after just 50 years. The Romans discovered something we've only recently begun to understand. Today, we're revealing the ancient concrete recipe that modern science is desperately trying to recreate. Before we uncover the secrets of Roman concrete, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. We're exploring ancient engineering marvels every week. Let's discover the formula. Roman concrete, called Opus Caementicium, revolutionized ancient construction. The Pantheon, completed in 128 CE, still stands with its original concrete dome intact. The Colosseum, nearly 2,000 years old, remains structurally sound. Ancient Roman harbors, submerged underwater for millennia, show minimal deterioration. Compare this to modern concrete. Highways need repairs after decades. Bridges require constant maintenance. Concrete exposed to seawater corrodes within 50 to 75 years. So what did the Romans know that we've forgotten? For years, scientists assumed Roman concrete's durability came from one ingredient, volcanic ash from Pozzuoli, near the Bay of Naples. But recent research revealed something far more fascinating. Roman concrete doesn't just endure, it actually gets stronger over time through a self-healing chemical process. Today, we're exploring the ancient Roman concrete recipe and why modern science struggles to replicate it. The Romans documented their concrete recipe in ancient texts. Vitruvius, an engineer for Emperor Augustus, wrote about it around 25 BCE. Later, Pliny the Elder recorded details before perishing in the eruption that buried Pompeii in 79 CE. The basic recipe combined three key ingredients: volcanic ash, called pozzolana or pulvis pudiolanus, lime, made from heated limestone, and surprisingly, seawater. For the aggregate, they used chunks of volcanic rock. The ratio varied depending on the application. For buildings on land, Vitruvius recommended 1 part lime to 3 parts volcanic ash. For underwater structures, the ratio was 1 part lime to 2 parts volcanic ash. This created a mixture they could lay, not pour like modern concrete. Roman concrete was thicker, chunkier, more like assembling masonry than pouring liquid. But here's where it gets interesting. The Romans didn't just mix these ingredients carefully. They used a technique modern scientists initially misunderstood. The first discovery: Tobermorite crystals. In 2013, researchers from UC Berkeley, led by Paulo Monteiro, analyzed samples from Roman harbor structures. They studied drill cores from Pozzuoli Bay near Naples. What they found was remarkable. When seawater percolates through Roman concrete, it reacts with the volcanic ash. This creates a rare mineral called aluminum tobermorite, or altobermorite. This mineral forms naturally only in rare circumstances, like in underwater volcanoes such as Surtsey in Iceland. In laboratories, scientists can produce altobermorite, but it's extremely difficult and expensive. Yet Roman concrete produces it naturally over time. As seawater flows through tiny cracks in the concrete, it dissolves components of the volcanic ash. This allows new binding minerals to grow. Altobermorite forms as long, thin crystals. Another mineral called philipsite, a zeolite, also develops. These crystals interlock within the concrete matrix. They don't just fill cracks. They reinforce the structure, making it stronger. Marie Jackson from the University of Utah, who led much of this research, explained the significance. Contrary to the principles of modern cement-based concrete, the Romans created a rock-like concrete that thrives in open chemical exchange with seawater. Modern concrete deteriorates in seawater because salt penetrates and corrodes the reinforcing steel. Roman concrete has no steel, and the seawater doesn't damage it. It improves it. The breakthrough: hot mixing and lime clasts. In 2023, researchers from MIT made another crucial discovery. Led by Professor Admir Masic, the team examined something previously dismissed as evidence of poor quality control: lime clasts. These are small white chunks of lime scattered throughout Roman concrete. For years, scientists assumed they indicated sloppy mixing. If the Romans were such skilled engineers, why didn't they mix the lime completely? Mazick suspected there was more to the story. His team analyzed ancient Roman concrete samples from Privernum, near Rome. They discovered the lime clasts weren't accidental, they were deliberate. The Romans used a technique called hot mixing. Instead of using slaked lime, which is lime mixed with water and allowed to cool, they used quicklime. Quicklime is calcium oxide, produced by heating limestone to extremely high temperatures. When you add water to quicklime, it undergoes an exothermic reaction. It releases tremendous heat, sometimes reaching 300 degrees Celsius or higher. This hot mixing technique was dangerous and required skill, but it created those lime clasts throughout the concrete. And here's why that matters. When cracks form in Roman concrete, water seeps in. This water dissolves the lime clasts. The dissolved lime releases calcium ions. These calcium ions react with volcanic components in the concrete. New calcium carbonate crystals form. They seal the crack. The concrete heals itself. Mazick's team tested this. They created concrete samples using both traditional methods and the hot mixing technique. They deliberately cracked the samples. Then they ran water through the cracks for 2 weeks. The samples made with quicklime healed completely. Water no longer flowed through them. The samples made without quicklime remained cracked. This was proof. Roman concrete has a built-in self-healing mechanism. Why modern concrete is different. Modern concrete, developed in 1824 by Joseph Aspdin, is called Portland cement. It's made by heating limestone and clay in kilns at around 450 degrees Celsius. This produces a powder that, when mixed with water, sand, and aggregate, creates concrete. Portland cement is strong initially. It can bear enormous compressive loads. That's why we use it for skyscrapers, bridges, and dams. But it has weaknesses. It doesn't react well with water over time, especially seawater. Salt penetrates the concrete. It corrodes the steel reinforcement inside. The steel expands as it rusts. This causes the concrete to crack and crumble. Modern concrete also requires high-temperature kilns. Cement production accounts for approximately 8% of global carbon dioxide emissions. That's more than the entire aviation industry. Roman concrete, by contrast, required lower temperatures. The lime was produced by heating limestone to around 900 degrees Celsius. Much less energy-intensive than modern cement manufacturing. And Roman concrete releases less CO2 overall. Plus, it lasts far longer, which means less frequent replacement and less material consumption. The challenge: why we can't just use Roman concrete? If Roman concrete is so superior, why aren't we using it everywhere? There are several reasons. First, Roman concrete takes time to develop its full strength. The self-healing mechanism and mineral growth occur over decades or centuries. Modern construction demands immediate strength. We can't wait 50 years for a bridge to reach full capacity. Second, Roman concrete doesn't work well with steel reinforcement. Modern buildings rely on rebar, steel bars embedded in concrete. This allows concrete to handle tension, which it normally can't do well. Roman structures were designed differently. They used arches, vaults, and domes. These architectural forms handle compressive forces, which concrete naturally resists. Third, the ingredients aren't universally available. The volcanic ash the Romans used came from specific regions around Naples. Pozzolana with the right mineral composition isn't found everywhere. Scientists are experimenting with substitutes. Coal fly ash, a byproduct of burning coal, has similar properties. Some regions have natural pozzolanic materials, but recreating the exact conditions that produce Tobermorite is challenging. Finally, modern construction methods differ fundamentally. Roman concrete was laid in place, layer by layer. Modern concrete is poured into molds and must set quickly. The Roman technique required more labor and time. The future, modern applications. Despite these challenges, researchers are working to adapt Roman concrete principles. Several potential applications exist. Marine structures are the most promising. seawalls, tidal barriers, offshore wind turbine foundations. These structures face constant seawater exposure. Traditional concrete deteriorates rapidly. Roman-style concrete that strengthens in seawater could last centuries. In the United Kingdom, there are plans for a tidal lagoon project in Swansea. It would harness tidal power by creating a barrier that captures and releases seawater. The project needs to operate for 120 years to be economically viable. Marie Jackson suggested Roman concrete would be ideal. With the way we build now, it would be a mass of corroding steel by that time, she said. Infrastructure projects with long timelines could benefit. Dams, aqueducts, foundations for structures meant to last generations. 3D printing offers interesting possibilities. Professor Masick's team is exploring whether the self-healing properties could work in 3D printed concrete forms. This could reduce material use while maintaining durability. Environmental benefits are significant. Lower carbon emissions from production. Longer lifespan reducing replacement needs. Potential to use industrial waste products like fly ash as ingredients. Companies and municipalities in North America are beginning to explore Roman-style concrete. It's not widespread yet, but interest is growing as climate change and aging infrastructure create urgent needs. The lesson: ancient wisdom meets modern science. What makes Roman concrete fascinating isn't just its durability. It's that ancient engineers, without modern chemistry or materials science, discovered principles we're only now understanding. They observed volcanic tuff, a natural rock formed from volcanic ash and water. They recognized its strength. They experimented with mixing volcanic ash, lime, and seawater. Through trial and error, they perfected a formula. They didn't know about Tobermorite or chemical reactions at the molecular level, but they knew their concrete worked. And they knew it lasted. This reminds us that ancient civilizations possessed sophisticated knowledge, sometimes lost, sometimes simply not understood by later generations. Roman concrete is one example. There are others. Greek fire, the Byzantine weapon whose formula was lost. Damascus steel, whose production method remains debated. Ancient medicines whose active ingredients we're rediscovering. The modern challenge is to combine ancient wisdom with contemporary science, to understand why these techniques worked, and to adapt them for modern needs. Roman concrete isn't a lost recipe anymore. We now understand how it works. Volcanic ash reacting with seawater to create Tobermorite crystals. Quicklime clasts, providing self-healing through calcium release, a chemical process that makes the concrete stronger over time. The challenge isn't knowledge, it's adaptation, making Roman principles work within modern construction demands. But researchers are making progress. Marine structures, long-term infrastructure, environmentally friendly alternatives. These applications could benefit from Roman concrete. The Pantheon stands as proof. Nearly 2,000 years later, its concrete dome remains sound. No cracks, no deterioration, no repairs needed. That's a testament to Roman engineering genius. And a reminder that sometimes the old ways aren't just historical curiosities. They're solutions to modern problems. If this changed how you see ancient engineering, hit that like button. Subscribe for more discoveries about how ancient civilizations solved problems we still face today. If you could rebuild one modern structure using Roman concrete principles, what would it be and why? A bridge, a seawall, a dam, wall? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We read everyone and love discussing with you. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.